Somebody says one sentence to you, and it ruins your entire day. That's not sensitivity, that's a leash, and whoever can pull it owns you. 2,000 years ago, the most powerful man in the world, betrayed by a general he loved like a brother, discovered how to cut that leash completely. His name was Marcus Aurelius, and in this video, I'll show you the 7 steps the Stoics used to become untouchable, with a practical technique in every single one. But understand this first, it has nothing to do with suppressing your feelings. The men who grit their teeth and hold it in are exactly the ones who break. The Stoics did something completely different, something almost nobody understands, and I'll show you what it is at the end, because the day nothing can touch you is the day everything starts obeying you. Let's begin. Picture this morning, 9 a.m., a co-worker makes a small comment about your work, half joke, half jab. It takes him 3 seconds to say it. And it takes you the whole day to stop hearing it. You carry his sentence into your lunch, into your workout, into your bed. He forgot it by 10. You're still holding it at midnight. Now ask yourself one brutal question. Who was in control of your mind today, you or him? Here's the truth no one wants to face. Every person who can upset you is a person who can steer you. If a stranger's rudeness can wreck your morning, then any stranger can decide what kind of morning you'll have. If your mood depends on being respected, then everyone who disrespects you gets a vote in how you feel. You think of yourself as a free man, but a man whose inner state can be changed by anyone, at any moment, with one sentence, is not free. He's a puppet with 1,000 strings, and everyone around him gets to pull one. Marcus Aurelius saw this from the highest seat in the world. Emperors were flattered to their faces and mocked behind their backs, provoked, tested, baited every day. And he wrote a line in his journal that should be carved into your wall. How much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it? Read that again. The insult cost him nothing. His reaction was the only thing that could actually damage him. The wound never comes from outside. It comes from what you do with what came from outside. And the people around you know this, some instinctively, some deliberately. The ones who tease you where it hurts, who provoke you and then say, "Relax, I'm joking," who know exactly which button makes you defensive. They're not making conversation, they're pulling the leash to remind themselves it's attached. Watch how this plays out in every room you enter. The moment people learn what bothers you, they file it away. Not always maliciously, but permanently. Your triggers become public infrastructure. The colleague knows one joke about your work makes you over-explain for 10 minutes. The relative knows one question about your life plans makes you defensive at every family dinner. You've been handing out the operating manual to your own nervous system for years, free of charge, to anyone who was paying attention. And here's the coldest part. The more visibly something bothers you, the more valuable that button becomes to the people who benefit from pressing it. So here's your first tool, and it's brutally simple. Tonight, take 1 minute and name them. Who held your leash this week? Whose comment, whose silence, whose opinion decided your mood? Write the names down. Most men have never once looked at the list of people they've handed their inner state to. Just seeing the list changes you, because you realize you gave away something no one ever had the right to take. But here's what will surprise you. When you look at that list honestly, you'll discover the leash was never actually held by those people at all. It's held by something much closer. And that's where the Stoics found the real enemy. Here's a paradox that should keep you up at night. 2 men sit in the same meeting. The same boss makes the same cutting remark to both of them. The first man shrugs, moves on, sleeps like a stone. The second man burns for 3 days. Same words, same room, same tone, one wound, one shrug. How is that possible? If words themselves had power, real, physical power, they would hit everyone equally, like rain that soaks whoever stands under it. But they don't, which can only mean one thing, and it's the single most important discovery the Stoics ever made. Epictetus said it in one line: men are disturbed not by things, but by the opinions they hold about things. The event is neutral. Your judgment of the event is the blade. Nobody has ever been hurt by a sentence. They are hurt by what they tell themselves the sentence means. Think about what actually happens when someone insults you. Sound waves leave a mouth. That's the entire event, vibrating air. Then your mind grabs the sound and goes to work. He disrespected me in front of everyone because he doesn't take me seriously, because maybe I don't deserve to be taken seriously. Look at that chain. The other person supplied one link, the words. You built the rest of the whip yourself, and then whipped yourself with it. Marcus Aurelius put it plainly. If you are distressed by any external thing, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Revoke at any moment. That's not poetry, that's an instruction. So here's the second tool, the split. The moment something stings, force your mind to separate two things: what happened and the story about what happened. Fact: he said my report was weak. Story: he humiliated me, he's against me, everyone saw it. The fact is usually small, boring, survivable. The story is the monster, and you are the one writing it. Say the fact out loud, stripped of the story, and watch the sting shrink to its real size. This one habit, fact versus story, is half of stoicism in a single move. And remember what I promised you at the start. This is not about suppressing what you feel. You're not swallowing the story. You're refusing to write it. Those are opposite things, and by the end you'll see why one breaks men and the other makes them unbreakable. But first, there's a harder question. If judgments cause the pain, which judgments do you attack first? The Stoics had a ruthless answer, a single line that divides everything in your life into two piles, and most of your suffering lives entirely in the wrong pile. Let me ask you something strange. When it rains on your day off, do you take it personally? Do you stand at the window furious, feeling betrayed by the sky? Of course not. You adjust. Umbrella, new plan, done. Now, when a driver cuts you off, when your message gets ignored, when a decision at work goes over your head, why is that different? Why does the traffic get your rage when the rain doesn't? Here's why. You don't expect to control the weather, so its behavior can't offend you. But somewhere deep down, you believe you're entitled to control people, outcomes, and opinions. You're not angry at the event. You're angry that reality ignored your instructions. Every frustration in your life is a place where you secretly believe you have a vote, and reality just proved you don't. Epictetus, a man who was born a slave, who owned nothing, not even his own body, drew the line that made him freer than his masters. Some things are up to us, he said. Our judgments, our decisions, our responses, our character. Everything else is not. What people think of you, what they say, what they do, whether they stay, whether plans work, whether you get sick, how it all ends. Two piles. Yours and not yours. And then the sentence that cuts like a scalpel. Suffering is what happens when you try to rule the second pile and neglect the first. Look at your worst weeks through this lens. The promotion decision made behind closed doors. What she thinks about you, what they're saying in the group chat. Whether your father will finally say he's proud of you. Every one of them. Second pile. Not yours. Never was. You've been standing in the storm, screaming orders at clouds and calling the exhaustion life. Now flip it. Your effort, yours. Your preparation, yours. Your response to the insult, yours. Your next move after the door closes, 100% yours. The Stoics didn't shrink your power, they concentrated it. A man who pours all his force into the first pile becomes strangely dense. Like all the energy scattered across things he couldn't control finally came home. This is why Epictetus, the slave, could look at men who owned palaces and call them the real slaves. They needed the Senate's approval, the crowd's applause, the emperor's mood, 100 masters each holding a string. He needed nothing that anyone could take. One pile fully owned beats an empire you have to beg for. Here's the third tool. Take the thing bothering you most right now. The one that's been circling your head all week. One sheet, 2 columns. What part of this is mine? What part is not? Be merciless. Then do the only sane thing a man can do. Act on the first column and formally resign from managing the second. Resign out loud if you have to. Not mine. Released. You'll feel lighter within a day. But don't get comfortable, because there's one emotion that doesn't wait for your columns. It arrives before thought, hijacks your body in half a second, and turns the calmest man into someone he doesn't recognize. The Stoics feared it more than any enemy army, and the most powerful man in the world was betrayed in the worst possible way, and used one trick so it couldn't reach him. In the year 175, Marcus Aurelius received the kind of news that breaks emperors. Avidius Cassius, his most trusted general, the man he'd raised to power, practically family, declared himself emperor. Treason from a brother. The whole empire held its breath waiting for the rage. Crucifixions, purges, rivers of blood. That was the standard imperial response, and no one would have blinked. Instead, Marcus told his soldiers he hoped to be given the chance to forgive Cassius. And when a soldier murdered Cassius and proudly brought his head to the emperor, Marcus refused to look at it and ordered it buried with honor. The most betrayed man in the world was somehow the only man in Rome who wasn't shaking with rage. Here's the question that matters. How? Not how noble. How mechanically does a man do that? And the answer is the single most practical trick in all of Stoicism. Every morning, every single morning, Marcus rehearsed betrayal before breakfast. He wrote the rehearsal down, and we still have it. When you wake in the morning, tell yourself, today I will meet the meddling, the ungrateful, the arrogant, the deceitful, the envious, the unsociable. Read that again. The Emperor of Rome began each day by listing every kind of snake he was about to meet, not to become bitter. The meditation continues. They are like this because they don't know better, and I will not be able to hate them, because we were born to work together. Do you see what he was doing? Anger is the tax you pay for being surprised. The driver enrages you because you expected courtesy. The betrayal destroys you because you expected loyalty. Every explosion of rage is really your expectations shattering, and Marcus simply stopped having shatterable expectations. He pre-broke them privately every morning so the world couldn't break them publicly at noon. The Stoics called it premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. He inoculated himself at dawn and walked through Rome immune. And understand what anger actually is. In his words, to be angry at someone's stupidity is to punish yourself for their mistake. Your pulse spikes, your judgment collapses, your day burns, while the fool who caused it walks away whistling. Anger is you volunteering to serve their sentence. So here's the fourth tool, and it takes 60 seconds. Tomorrow morning, before your phone, run the rehearsal. Today, I will meet the rude, the slow, the dishonest, the ungrateful. Someone will waste my time. Someone may lie to me. That's it. You're not being negative. You're removing the element of surprise, which is the only weapon those people ever had. When the rude man appears at 2 p.m., something eerie happens. You recognize him right on schedule. And recognition kills rage before it starts. You're halfway now, and remember the promise. The day nothing touches you, everything starts obeying you. But the next wound doesn't shout like anger. It whispers. It's the quiet poison you've been drinking your whole life. And it has a name. Remember the sentence from the very beginning of this video, the comment that ruined your whole day. Let me tell you what that sentence actually was. Physically, literally. It was an opinion, a thought inside someone else's skull. It had no hands. It had no weight. It could not touch your body, your money, your work, or your future. And it dismantled your entire day. That should terrify you more than any real threat, because it means the least real thing in the world has the most power over you. Here's what Marcus wrote about it, and it's almost funny how dry he is. It's not what happens to you, but the opinion of the man, and the opinion is his problem, carried in his mind, not yours. We spend our lives as unpaid managers of other people's mental content. What does she think of me? What did they say after I left? How did that look? You are patrolling territory you will never see, never enter, and never control, the inside of other people's heads. And here's the mechanism nobody notices. An opinion only weighs something when you sign for it. Someone hands you, "You're not good enough," and it hangs in the air, weightless, until you reach out and accept the package. Refuse to sign, and it stays what it always was, noise in someone else's skull. Epictetus went further. If someone tried to hand your body to a passing stranger, you'd be outraged. Yet you hand your mind to every stranger who insults you and let them rearrange the furniture. And think about who these people are, the ones whose approval you're bleeding for. Would you take life advice from them? Would you trade places with them? Would you even ask them for directions? You're being judged by juries you'd never hire and appealing verdicts that were never enforceable. The man whose opinion crushed you this morning spends his evenings crushed by someone else's opinion of him. It's an infinite chain of prisoners rating each other's cells, and the Stoics simply stepped out of the chain. There's one more layer here, and it's the one that sets you free. Most opinions about you aren't even about you. The colleague who mocks your ambition is narrating his own surrender. The friend who calls your discipline obsessive is defending his own comfort. People don't describe you, they describe the threat you pose to the story they tell about themselves. Once you see that, other people's judgments become what they always were, autobiographies written in the third person with your name pasted in. Marcus, surrounded by the empire's opinions of him, wrote the exit line. "I have often wondered how it is that every man loves himself more than all the rest of men, but yet sets less value on his own opinion of himself than on the opinion of others." So here's the fifth tool, the two questions. When an opinion stings, ask first, whose judgment is this? If the answer is not mine, then it's their property, their problem, their mental content, and managing it is not your job. And second, never defend yourself against it. No explaining, no proving, no essay in the group chat. The moment you argue with an opinion, you've signed for the package. Silence isn't weakness here. Silence is the refusal to accept delivery. Now you've cut deep. Other people's words handled, anger inoculated, control sorted into piles. But there's one enemy left, and it doesn't live in other people at all. It waits until 3 a.m. when the house is quiet, and it holds the biggest lever of all. The Stoics walked straight at it, and what they did is the strangest and most powerful practice in this entire philosophy. 3 a.m. You're staring at the ceiling, and the voice starts. What if I lose the job? What if she leaves? What if the results come back bad? What if it all falls apart? Every man knows this voice. It doesn't shout like anger or sting like insults. It just quietly owns you, because fear is the master lever. Whoever can threaten what you're afraid to lose can make you do almost anything. Every manipulator, every exploiting boss, every controlling partner runs on the same fuel, your terror of losing something. And here, the Stoics did something that sounds insane. Instead of pushing the fear away, they scheduled it. Seneca, one of the richest men in Rome, would regularly set aside days to live poor, rough clothes, the cheapest food, sleeping hard, while asking himself one question: is this what I was so afraid of? And every time the answer came back, no. It's uncomfortable. It's survivable. The monster, examined in daylight, was a shadow with good marketing. He robs fear of its power, Seneca wrote, who has rehearsed its arrival beforehand. Understand the mechanics. Fear is never really about the event. It's about the unknown behind the event. Your mind doesn't torture you with losing the job. It tortures you with a black fog labeled losing the job, which it never lets you actually open. The Stoic move is to open the box. Deliberately, walk into the loss with your eyes open. Okay, I lose it. What actually happens on day one? Where do I sleep? Who's still with me? What do I do on Monday? And the fog condenses into a plan. Fear can't survive specificity. This is memento mori, remember death, the practice everyone misquotes as gloomy. The Stoics kept skulls on their desks not because they were morbid, but because a man who has made peace with the final loss cannot be blackmailed with the small ones. What can you take from a man who has already, in his mind, calmly lost everything and found himself still standing there? Threats need a hostage. He's already released them all. And here's what nobody tells you. This is where your untouchability stops being defense and becomes power. The fearless man isn't reckless. He simply negotiates, decides, and speaks without a hostage crisis running in the background. He can say no to the boss because he's already survived the firing in his head. He can be fully honest because he's already survived the rejection. Everyone else is bluffing with scared money. He's the only one at the table playing free. Notice how differently the two men move through the same life. The frightened man makes every decision twice, once in reality and 100 times in advance, at 3 a.m. in the worst possible versions. By the time the real moment arrives, he's exhausted from battles that never happened. The Stoic fights each battle once, on purpose, in a controlled rehearsal, and then never again. Same dangers, same world, a fraction of the suffering. Seneca said we suffer more in imagination than in reality, but the full truth is sharper. The man who refuses to rehearse the worst doesn't avoid the suffering. He just pays for it nightly, in installments, forever. The sixth tool, 60 seconds of negative visualization. Take tonight's 3 a.m. fear, and instead of banishing it, run it to the end. Lose the thing completely. Watch yourself on the other side, breathing, adapting, rebuilding. Then, open your eyes and come back to a life where it hasn't happened, and notice you're now holding it, instead of it holding you. And now you have all of it. The leash, the judgment, the two piles, the morning rehearsal, the unsigned package, the opened box. But if what you're picturing is a man of stone who feels nothing, then you've misunderstood everything about this philosophy. And this is where I keep the promise from the beginning. So let's finish what I started in the first minute. I told you that becoming unbothered has nothing to do with suppressing your feelings, and that the people who suppress are exactly the ones who break. Here's the truth. The man who suppresses his emotions is a man holding the door shut while the room fills with water. The anger is still there. The fear is still there. He just spends his entire strength pretending they aren't, and everything he swallows gets stored with interest. That's why the calm guy explodes over nothing after 10 years. That's why the man who never lets things get to him quietly rots with ulcers and resentment. Suppression isn't strength. It's a loan against your future self, and the interest rate is brutal. Now look at what the Stoic actually does. Look at what you've actually been learning for the last 30 minutes. Not one of these techniques hides a feeling. Every single one of them happens before the feeling fully forms. The split catches the story before it's written. The dichotomy resigns from the battle before it starts. The morning rehearsal removes the surprise before the fool appears. The unsigned package never gets carried. The opened box never becomes a monster. Do you see it? The suppressor fights his emotions after they've flooded him. The Stoic revokes the world's authority to flood him at all. That's the word that changes everything. Authority. Emotions are like officials. They act with whatever authority they're granted. Your anger arrives with force because somewhere, long ago, you granted the world's rudeness the authority to command your blood pressure. Your despair over an opinion has power because you granted strangers jurisdiction over your worth. The Stoic doesn't wrestle the officials. He rewrites the Constitution. Marcus said it in 9 words, the 9 most powerful words he ever wrote. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Feelings still arrive. They knock now. They no longer barge in. You've changed the locks. And now the final piece. Why nothing bothers you becomes unstoppable. Do the accounting. Count the hours the average man spends per week being offended, replaying arguments, fearing outcomes, managing opinions, punishing himself for others' stupidity. It's a full-time job, a second, invisible career of being bothered. Now hand all of those hours, all of that focus, all of that fire to one man, a man with 0 leaks. Everything others spend on reacting, he he spends on building, training, deciding, acting. He isn't superhuman. He's just the only man in the room running at 100%. That's why he seems unstoppable. He's not faster than you. He's simply not bleeding. And people feel it instantly in ways they can't explain. The provocateurs stop because the button connects to nothing. The manipulators drift away because there's no fear to hook. The room reorganizes around the man who can't be moved, the way water flows around stone. And here's the strangest part. You'll stop getting credit for restraint because it will stop looking like restraint. The man holding himself back is visible. The clenched jaw, the forced smile, the effort. People sense the storm behind the dam and keep testing it. But the man with sovereignty has nothing to hold back. The provocation simply lands on territory it has no authority in. There's no performance to see through because there's no performance. That's when the testing ends for good. Not when you win the game, but when people finally realize you're no longer playing it. Marcus Aurelius spent his final years in a plague-ridden army camp on a freezing frontier, dying, betrayed, surrounded by loss, and wrote the calmest book in human history. They could take his health, his friends, his life. The one thing no one ever took was the only thing he ever claimed, the empire between his ears. That's the secret the whole video was walking toward. The Stoics weren't trying to feel less. They were ending the world's occupation of their inner territory, not suppression, sovereignty. And a sovereign man doesn't need the world to be kind, fair, or quiet. He carries his weather with him. So here's the truth you weren't expecting. You thought this video was about staying calm. It was never about calm. It was about power, the oldest kind there is. Nobody can rule a man who rules himself. Nobody can rob a man who holds his valuables inside. Every empire in history fell. The one between your ears is the only one that falls by permission, yours. Start with one tool tonight. Name the leash. Split fact from story. Run the morning rehearsal. Just one. And within a week, someone will push the button that always worked and stand there, confused, watching your face while nothing happens. That silence on your face, that's what freedom looks like from the outside. If you're taking your territory back, write one word in the comments. Sovereign. I read them. And in the next video, the weapon the Stoics never wrote down but always used, silence. Why the strongest man in the room is the one who says nothing. Why every explanation makes you weaker, and how saying less makes the world lean toward you. Watch it next. Your leash is already half cut. That one severs it.